Hi Danish learner, welcome back to my channel Danish Matters. I'm Tina Bakker, your Danish friend and tutor. Today I'm going to be mixing language and culture because I'm going to talk to you about table manners and how to set the table the Danish way. Before we get started, I would like to remind you that I am a Danish teacher, and if you would like a Danish course with me, then write to tina@danishmatters.dk. I often teach online, so it's not at all odd or strange to me. So if you are anywhere in Denmark, we can have a course together. If you are abroad, we can also arrange something, even with a time difference. We can make up a course, just adjust it to both of our schedules, and everything will work out fine. So write to tina@danishmatters.dk. Now, I have titled this video Bor Digter, and that is sort of just for the fun of it, because that is actually a title of an old Grimm's fairy tale. So the brothers Grimm and their fairy tales that they collected. And one of them is Bor Digter, in Danish, of course. Those brothers, they collected fairy tales between 1812 and 1815. And this particular fairy tale, Bor Digter, is from 1821. That's when the fairy tales came out, were published in Danish. I'm going to link to that one if you're ever interested. Of course, it's a little bit difficult Danish to understand, but in any case that you're curious, you can find it down below. Now, dæk, in this case, bord, dæk dig, means to set the table. So literally, the title of that fairy tale would be Table Set Yourself. That is, put out the plates and glasses and cutlery yourself. So that's what it means, literally. And to set the table in Danish is at dække bordet. To set the table. Yeah, that's the literal way of saying it. So I could say, vil du dække bordet? Jeg kan dække bordet. Vi skal have dækket bordet. Sometimes it's actually not in the definite form. Jeg kan godt dække bord. A little bit both, yeah? You can hear both. When we're at the table, I've struggled a little bit with that preposition in English, because at the table to me could also be that I'm sort of like sitting on the table. I had to learn that because it seemed a little bit difficult or strange to me that in English you would say at. But in English it's at the table. In Danish it's ved bordet. Jeg sidder ved bordet. Sort of like by the table. Yeah. And I'm just going to show you the few things that I already mentioned. As always, I've written it down in my own writing here. Like that. And of course, we need to talk about the word for to eat, and that is spise. In Danish, that's the infinitive form. So the conjugations, or the conjugation of to eat, at spise, is at spise. Jeg spiser. Jeg spiste. Jeg har spist. And note that in Danish, this word applies to people. We have another word for animals. They would be æde. Grisen æder. The pig is eating. Hesten æder. The horse is eating. And we can say hesten spiser, grisen spiser. We could say that, but actually, I guess in professional terms, or at least also back in the day, æde would be for animals. But in modern days, you might hear this word from people. Jeg skal have noget at æde. Jeg trænger til noget at æde. Har vi ikke noget at æde? Don't we have anything to eat? That is used as slang. It is not nice language. You wouldn't use that in a formal setting or with people that you respect a lot, like elderly people or your boss, or yeah. Even though we have a flat hierarchy in Denmark, I wouldn't say to my boss, jeg skal have noget at æde. I just wouldn't. So there's a distinguishment in Danish. In Swedish, actually, it's äta for both, yeah, people and animals. So in Danish, we distinguish. And talking about this word slang, yeah, the slang word æde, there are, of course, also table manners in Denmark and ways of setting the table. Now, back in the 1800s, beginning of 1900s, there was this woman named Emma Gad. And she was an author, she was a playwright, she was also involved in women's issues in society and so on. But she's mainly known for one single book, and that is called Takt og Tone. And that's a book about etiquette, about being around other people, and also about table manners and manners in general. Those were the days where that was very important in the society, right? So she was very involved in this and wrote this book. And I don't know if she wrote the exact way we set the table today, but I'm going to show you. I just found this online, yeah? So what I'm showing to you now might differ a little bit, but I like to show you anyway. I'm just folding my paper so that I don't confuse you too much with my notes. We would set the table something along those lines, and I'm going to explain it to you. And I know it gets a little dark when I show this. Maybe this is a little bit better. I hope that you can see that this is tallerken, and there is a smaller circle indicating another tallerken, which is a plate, yeah? I put kniv, gaffel, ske, knife, fork, and spoon. Another spoon here for dessert. That's where we place the spoon for dessert. The spoon here would normally be used for soup, yeah? Yeah. So you go that direction, yeah, when you eat. Sometimes there will be a fork for dessert, so they'll be placed right here. Maybe you would have both, yeah? And then there are glasses. So they will be like this. I hope that you can see what I have written. Water, I need to look myself. Snaps, actually. So water, schnapps, hvidvin, rødvin, and dessertvin, dessert wine. That's what it looks like, yeah? This is actually a simplified drawing because we might have more forks, more knives. So, yeah, there might be more than that, right? In between plates, and I'm going to show you, I have actually set the table just before me here. Kind of, at least. I have here 2 plates, just to indicate what was on the drawing. Sometimes you will actually see that there's a napkin in between. Probably just so that it won't slam too much together, although that's just what I did with the edge of it. But that's normally what it's for. Also, maybe just to look nice when you take one plate away, because if we get a starter kind of meal, we would have that on the first plate. That one will be taken away and we will then use the next plate. If it's in a normal house, that is in a home, we might actually wipe off our knife and fork and use them again. And that is also what we use that napkin for often. Yeah? So that's okay to do that. We will have that so that we can just continue our meal on the next plate. Yeah? What is also normal is that if you have a big dinner like the one I showed on the drawing, then you will have a napkin, and that napkin might be folded in a very nice way. Sometimes it will look like a swan or I forget what that is in English, but one of those fine things that fine ladies will use if it's a little bit hot. Yeah, if you watch older movies, like, well, not older movies, but like movies that portray older times with big gowns and royal houses and so on, you will see these. Yeah, they might be folded into that, and it is then that you will take this napkin and you will place it in your lap. Yeah, so maybe I should have begun this video saying that if you are from Europe or like a Western country, the table manners, the way of setting the table, aren't probably that different, but there might at least be some things that are not the same. So still continue watching, I would say. If you are not from the West, then probably this video is going to help you understand more what we do and what we don't do. Yeah, so keep on watching. If it's a simple dinner, I just had one the other day in my home, I would take a wine glass and I will fold a napkin so that it looks a little bit like a flower from the top, so that it looks like all decorative and standing on the table like that. In its place, yeah, that would be what I would do. I'm just gonna place it here. You can see the napkin here. I could also do something else, right? But that is what I would do because it is easy, it's quick, and it looks nice, right? And I would just have the glass of water like this, not water in it, yeah? I would place little jugs on the table for people to take, or maybe I would pour. That's also a thing, that if you pour wine for your guests, often you yourself, the host, it would often be the man, the host, if it's like very classical or like a little bit old-fashioned, but the woman, the hostess, can definitely do it, yeah, will take the wine, take the cork himself, herself, a little bit into their glass, and then pour for the guests, and then go back to their own glass and pour, right? So it's only to take the cork, the not so nice part of the wine bottle, because there might be little pieces of cork in it. You don't want that to end up in your guests' glasses, yeah? So that is why. Now, you have now seen the table setting, how we set the table, yeah? There are, of course, also manners at the table, what we do, what we don't do, yeah? So, things that we don't do, we don't bark, which is bose in Danish. We don't do that. It is very impolite. If you do it, you apologize. You would say, undskyld. Yeah, that is polite to do. You don't bark. It's not polite to bark. It's not showing that you like the food at all. Yeah, it's just not polite. You don't do it. In general, in Denmark, we don't like bodily sounds. So we would apologize if it happens. Yeah. We also don't champ our food like that. We don't do that. That is also impolite. We will tell our children to close their mouths. Luk munden, når du spiser. It is not polite to champ your food. Yeah, it's also not polite just to eat very fast, like sluge maden, like gulp it all down, like that. That is not polite either. So it is polite to have the napkin in your lap. It is also polite to keep your elbows sort of not too much like this, because you don't want to like do like this to your neighbor or just at all. Yeah, it's not polite to do that. So you sort of keep your elbows in. Back in the day, mothers would teach the children, and they would take maybe napkins or a book and place it under their arms so that they could learn not to do like this. Yeah, it's also not polite to put your elbows on the table. You can, in not that formal settings, you can place one elbow at the very, very edge of the table, but not right away, right? Maybe a little bit into the dinner, a little bit, or maybe just like that at the the edge of the table like that, but very, very slightly. Yeah, you don't slouch like that on the table. That is not polite either. Of course, you can see this varied in different families and different places, but I'm just giving to you what is the most classical, normal conduct. Yeah, normal etiquette. What else? When we say cheers, if it's a celebration of some kind and you kind of keep a little bit of etiquette, you would, first off, you would actually say maybe velbekomme, or you won't say anything and we will just start. You don't start until everyone is seated. You might be placed by your hostess often where to sit. Would you sit here? Would you sit here? If it's not too big of a party. If it's a very big one, there will be little like placing cards by the plates with your name on it. So you need to walk around, or maybe there will be actually a sort of a sketch of the room and the tables. And you can find, oh, I'm going to sit here next to Aunt Gertrude and Uncle Pete. Yeah. But if it's a normal, more quiet, less numbered celebration, there won't be any of that. And maybe the hostess or the host will just say, please seat wherever you like, or sit wherever you like, or maybe say, my wife and I, or my husband and I, we're going to sit here, and the rest of you can just sit wherever you want. I mean, there might be a little bit of something like that before you sit down, but it is not normal to sit down until everyone is there and the hosts or the hostess or the host are there. Then you sit down. Yeah. Then when eating, a little bit into the meal, if it's a little bit, like the etiquette is a little bit like kept, the hostess or the host will raise their glasses and just say, welcome, nice that you would come here. And the guest would say, or thank you for having us, or thank you for the invitation, or it's nice to see you, something like that. So it will be like, velkommen, dejligt at se jer, something like that. And the guest will go, tak for invitationen, det er dejligt at se jer, blah, blah, things like that, yeah? And then you will drink, and you will sort of, or if it's in my family and a lot of other families, we will clink the glasses. So we will do like this with each other as long as we can reach, yeah? I know, at least I've heard, that in Switzerland, you don't cross arms with someone else to clink the glasses. But in Denmark, we do. We don't care. So we will clink, and it's actually, the more chaotic, the better. Like, oh, underneath, over, crossing, and we just have a little laugh. It's normal, and it's a little bit fun too, yeah? So that is what we do. And it's normal to have those skål, as we say, yeah? Skål. It's normal to do that several times during a dinner, just because. Maybe there's something to celebrate. Maybe there is a congratulations with something, ja? Tillykke med fødselsdagen, tillykke med bryllupsdagen, tillykke med dit nye arbejde. I mean, whatever it is, yeah? Your new job would be the last one, yeah? So that you could do when cheering like that. Skål. That's probably one of the first words that people learn when they come to Denmark, yeah? Skål. Now, when you're at the table and you would like something passed to you, in English you would say, would you pass me? Could you pass me? In Danish that would be, vil du række mig? Vil du række mig saltet? Vil du give mig brødet? Sometimes it would be a little informal, yeah? Vil du sende sodavanden herned? Could you send the pop down here? Yeah? If it's not that formal. And often in Danish families, it's not formal, yeah? So even with a little bit of an etiquette and welcome and all of that, we could still say things like that, yeah? So I'm going to show you a little bit. So just above my fingers, a few lines that you could say, yeah? And I have written in parentheses, ikke godt lide. Vil du ikke godt lide række mig saltet? Either of those words can also be used, just the one. Vil du ikke række mig saltet? That actually means, won't you, will you not pass me the salt? It's a question, but it is not like not. It's actually, will you? Will you pass me the salt? But for some reason, just like in English, you could say, won't you pass me the salt? It's a little bit strange, so we put ikke in it. Vil du ikke række mig saltet? Vil du ikke godt række mig saltet? Vil du ikke godt lide række mig saltet? You don't have to say the whole thing, you can just say one of them, yeah? Or just, vil du række mig saltet? That's a safe one, yeah? Vil du række mig saltet? Vil du række mig brødet? Vil du give mig brødet? Maybe more informal, vil du sende mig brødet? But if you don't know people that well, if you are new in a Danish family, maybe not say sende, yeah? Maybe that's a little bit impolite, or just like colloquial, daily like, yeah? So if you want to make a good impression, use række instead, yeah? When you're done eating, maybe you will be asked if you want more. Vil nogen have mere? Vil du have mere? Vil du have mere kød? Sometimes their meat will actually be served twice. It's not always, yeah, but sometimes. Vil nogen have mere? Vil du have mere? Vil du have mere? Sometimes people say yeah, and then they'll have more, and they will eat more, and we will just continue the conversation. When you're all done, or if you are asked if you want more and you don't want more, you could say, jeg er mæt. Jeg er mæt. It means I'm full. Yeah, jeg er mæt. And that is written, and it's just above my fingers. Jeg er mæt. It means I'm full. Yeah, in Danish you can say that you're full. In French, it's not polite. It's just I can't anymore in French. Yeah, j'en peux plus. In Danish you can say it. Yeah, jeg er mæt. And when you're all done, tak for mad, or you add a little bit, tak for mad. Det smagte godt. Det smagte rigtig godt. Det smagte dejligt. Det var rigtig lækkert. Something like that. And I have written something along like I didn't write dejligt actually, but that's definitely something you could say. Det smagte rigtig dejligt. Det smagte dejligt. Det var rigtig lækkert. It was really delicious. Yeah, that's what it means. Then the host or the hostess would say, velbekomme. And that is normally the indicator of now you can get up from your seat. If there is room in the home to go elsewhere, to often have coffee and maybe some sweets, maybe chocolate or cookies or other stuff. Yeah, that is normal. If the home isn't too big, and you'll just be seated at the table, but maybe you'll just mingle a little bit, maybe go to the restroom, just talk to each other until coffee is served. Yeah, so that is also normal. But velbekomme is sort of like, now we're finished. I hope everyone's full. Now dinner is over. Yeah, and it's a nice way of finishing it. Some people hear velbekommen with an N. There is no N. Yeah, in this case, there is no N. Velbekomme. It ends on an E. This word you can also use at your workplace. If there is a cantina, a place, a lunchroom, and you enter and you pass other people, you haven't gotten your own food yet, or if you have gotten your own food also, you can look at people that are eating and you can say to them, velbekomme. That is bon appetit. Yeah? Velbekomme is just enjoy your meal. I see that you're eating. I want to sort of indicate I have seen that. I'm being polite. Velbekomme. So it can also be before a meal. Yeah, that you say this. But not to mix up with velkommen with an N at the end, meaning welcome. Yeah? So I have put that just above my fingers here. And I have folded it earlier, so maybe it's a little bit difficult, but I hope that you can see it. So when it's about food, velbekomme, not, that's what I write, ikke velbekommen, that is not a word. Yeah, that is not a word. I know that as a teacher, that's not a good strategy to tell people what not to say, but I just did it anyway. Yeah, so that was a little bit about how we set the table manners, the conduct, the etiquette of a Danish meal together with others. And just for the fun of it, I mentioned Emma Gell, and that was back in the day, right? So she was born in 1852, she died in 1921, so only a few years after she wrote her book on all this conduct and etiquette around other people. But in 1986, there was a book called Emma Gell, vi gider ikke. And Gell is actually the past tense of gider. I haven't written the conjugation, okay, because it's not really about that in this video, but it is at gide, jeg gider, with an R, jeg gad, jeg har gidet. Sounds strange to conjugate it, but it really means not feeling like doing something. Ja, jeg gider ikke. Jeg gider ikke lave mit hjemmearbejde til dansk. I don't want to do my homework for Danish class. Jeg gider ikke gøre rent. I don't want to clean my house, my home, something like that. And that is what they are playing on. Yeah, they're using this as a play with words in this title because Emma Gell, of course, was a name. The last name for Emma was Gell. But it is actually with a glottal stop for the verb in Danish, gæld. So there's a difference between gæld and gæld. Yeah? So Emma gæld, vi gider ikke. Emma wanted to, but we don't want to. And that is sort of writing about leaving the etiquette. We're tired of the etiquette. We're trying to be more loose, more relaxed. That's what they wrote about. I haven't read the book though. Yeah, but that is the title of this book. Emma gæld, vi gider ikke. And just a last note, of course, there are lots of expressions with spise in Danish. One is spise af med. Spise nogen af med. Spise someone af med. Yeah? And I've just written an example. Du kan ikke bare spise ham af med blah, blah, blah. In English, and I had to look it up, you can't just fob him off with blah, blah, blah. Meaning, you can't just give him this thing, do this little blah blah for him, which is not really an ideal or nice or the best solution, thing, idea. You can't just do that. It's not enough, it's not good, he deserves better. And of course this goes for everyone, not just a he, but also a she, a them, an animal, a pet. Ja. Du kan ikke bare spise ham af med kun at tale med ham i 5 minutter. You can't just fob him off with just speaking to him for 5 minutes because it's been a long time since you've seen each other and it will be a long time until you will see or meet each other again. Yeah? Or you can't just du kan ikke bare spise ham af med en tur i biografen, når han har givet dig en tur i det kongelige teater. You can't just fob him off with going to the cinema, the movies, when he has actually taken you to the Royal Theatre. There's a bit of a difference between the movies and the Royal Theatre. Blah, blah, blah. It could be any example, yeah? It can also be literal, because of course that's what it comes from, yeah? Du kan ikke bare spise ham af med et æble. You can't just fob him off with an apple. He needs a real proper meal, yeah? Yeah, so that's just one example with spise. Definitely you can find more examples in the dictionary. There is a dictionary called ordnet.dk, ordnet.dk, ordnet, so wordnet, literally. Look up words there. You can't find translations, but you can find conjugations. And if you are an advanced learner, you can read what the words mean, how they're used, yeah? If you're not an advanced learner, then go to ordbogen.com, BOGEN in one word. That means dictionary in Danish, ordbogen.com. And there you can find translations. It's a very good dictionary, actually. I think you get 4 lookups a day. And if you need more, you will have to pay. Yeah, it's pay. But ordnet.dk is not pay. Yeah. I hope that you got something out of this video. I hope that this video helped you understand how we set the table and what the conduct and the etiquette is when you are dining, when you are eating, when you're having a meal with the Danes. Thank you so much for watching, and happy Danish learning!